Welcome to another episode of the Off Market Operator, you guys. Today's show, as we approach, actually, we just passed the halfway point of the year. I'm talking about all things simplifying your business, simplifying your life, and moving the needle this week. So, you guys, starting your week this week, listening to this on Monday, let's actually move the needle forward this week. Let's stop procrastinating and spending time on stuff that's not meaningful. Let's grow our companies this week and push towards where we need to get to. So, without further ado, let's get right into the show. People don't fail at real estate because they suck. They fail because there's too many ways to succeed. That's why I suggest you focus on the most important skill in all of real estate, which is finding deals. I'm Ruud-Johnson, and in this podcast, I share the exact steps I've used to source 400 deals by age 24. This will allow you to do three things: control your deal flow, make unlimited income, and build your empire as an off-market operator. Welcome, guys. I think this is gonna be the best show that we've ever recorded here at Off Market Operator. It is, getting to the middle of June here. The year is, halfway over. 2 quarters into the year. Market's done a bunch of funky things. In this episode, really, what I'm doing and what I'm focusing on is explaining to you guys why I think every single person overcomplicates not just business, not just people, not just hiring, but real estate specifically, and how it's applicable to your business. And I'm going to give you very actionable items that you can take and implement into your company right now that'll help you scale up in a way you can't imagine. We all get into real estate, you guys, with big hopes, big dreams. We see people online talking about syndicating big buildings, doing a bunch of multifamily, making millions of dollars, doing development, fix and flip, wholesaling, um, all the different things. And most of these people aren't smarter than us. They don't have a better work ethic. Some do, right? Some people have a different work ethic, which I'll get into in a second. But most people are not stronger, faster, quicker than you. They just have been in the game long enough, and they've learned simple concepts they've implemented to themselves. Their framework. Every single person that I know that's uber successful has a similar framework of how they think about business and people. And I'm going to get into all of that today and today's show. The first thing I want to talk about, you guys, is work ethic and the hustle culture that's come out around Instagram and Twitter and just our culture, right? Especially the entrepreneurship culture of 12, 14-hour days, 16-hour days, no sleep, nonstop. I'm going to talk about my beliefs around that, what I've done to improve my workflow and my overall day to day when it comes to my businesses. And really, guys, the first point on that is understanding what leveraged work. And I've talked about this a lot on the show. You guys, there's a difference between the guy working 14 hours a day in the coal mine and the guy doing knowledge based work on the computer or talking to sellers or talking to buyers or building systems and processes or building content for their team. There's different levels of productivity, different levels of work. And so your goal shouldn't be the hardest working person. It should not be, that should not be your goal anymore. If you're a knowledge based worker, right? Uh, you're never going to be the hardest working person. You shouldn't be, and you shouldn't want to be. And let me explain that more in depth. So if I was like, I want to work the most hours in the day, what entrepreneurs end up doing is they start focusing on stuff that doesn't move the needle. And there's a paradox. I forget the name of the law right now, but there's one of those weird, like, little law things that's a task will be completed for the most part, and the timeline and the length it'll take to complete a task depends on um, how long you give yourself. So if you give yourself 8 hours in a day to complete one task, you're going to procrastinate. You're going to be on your phone. You're going to be going to the coffee shop. You're going to be checking email. And it's going to take a whole 8 hours to do that task. If you block off 1 hour to do that task with no distractions, you'll probably get that task done in 1 hour. And so the first thing is how many days can you get into your day? What I mean by that is most people, the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of what they do actually is what moves the needle forward. 80% is just whatever, wanking off, not actually moving the needle forward at all. So how do you move the needle forward in your business? How do we get that 20% to be more to the 80% and flip flop that? The first thing is what I like to ask myself is how many days can I fit in each day? Meaning, instead of giving myself 20 different tasks to do in one day when I know one's going to get done, I'm going to give myself three priorities that day, and I'm going to give myself as much time as I need to do each one of those activities right. Because the big mistake that people make, guys, and especially in this business, is they try to do too many things. So they end up doing everything fast. They end up not delegating it well, and they end up having to go back and do it again. The price of not doing something right the first time outweighs the price of just taking a week to do one project completely right and be dialed in. I found that to be very true with my companies and myself. So the first thing, guys, when we talk about work ethic, okay, your job isn't to work the longest hours, the hardest hours. You have to. I'm not saying you don't grind. You do have to grind. I have nights where I'm up till 2 a.m. working on a project. That's the reality. There is deadlines, there is teams, there is money, there's bills to pay. Everyone has rent and or mortgage. That's the reality of life. But again, we should be spending our time on high leverage activities, right? um, Prospecting, talking to sellers on the phone all day as an agent or an investor is much higher leverage than sending emails and going to coffee shops to meet random people. Okay. So you just really want to dial in. And the number one thing I see very successful people do is they protect their time more than they protect their bank account. Everyone's protecting their bank account, right? Everyone watches where every single dollar goes to, all their recurring subscriptions. You guys need to pay attention to the recurring subscriptions you have on your life in terms of time. Like, where is your time going every single day on a recurring basis? And pay attention to that. That's what successful people do. When you look at a successful person's calendar, it's much more simple than you think, but they know exactly what they're doing every single time of the day. And a second piece on that is what I call themed days. And so the second thing I think to keep your life simple is the theme days. So if you're wearing all the hats in your business, you want to theme your days so you make sure that you're not doing too much context and task switching. Task switching kills work ethic, kills productivity. You don't want to be wearing five, six, seven different hats in the same day. What I recommend doing is if you're, say, for example, you're wholesaling and you're doing acquisitions, you're doing dispositions, you're doing transactions, you're doing marketing. You have a different day of the week or different part of the day allotted to that task, right? So you're going to be talking to sellers. Say you're talking to sellers from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you're then doing TC work, say you're doing TC work from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you break up your day in a way where you can focus on, give your brain one thing to focus on without doing a bunch of task switching, because that'll kill your productivity. So beyond work ethic, guys, that's something everyone gets wrong. We're not taught focus, guys. From the day we're born, our brains are conditioned 9 to 5. Right? Bell rings at the beginning of class. Bell rings to tell you you're out of school for the day. Same thing in college. You get out in the real world, you have to be there at 9, out at 5, and no one talks about actual focus, actual productivity. And not only that, but same for your team. You guys have to learn this yourself so you can pass these things on to your team of how to be productive and how to be focused, how to make sure they're working on the highest leverage work. Because the reality is, you guys, when you make your 40 thing to do list for this week, there's only one thing that's the most important on that list. When you really sit there and you really start checking things off and looking at it, you'll find one thing that's truly the most important and highest leverage. It's actually going to move the ball forward. If you're an agent, instead of checking your email and Slack and showing up to random trainings all day, that could be actually sitting down for 4 hours a day and prospecting. That's going to actually move the needle, or hiring a cold caller, or what's actually going to make the rest of the work insignificant. And for me, that usually comes down to people, right? That's hiring, training, managing, recruiting, processes and systems. So improving a process, creating or outlining a process, implementing a system, creating a system, or giving someone a project to create a system, or content. Right, content's both for my team internally and externally, because you create a piece of content once. Like, I create this podcast one time, people consume it forever. Even if it's 10 people a week, I don't really care. That's 10 more people that wouldn't be seeing my content, and they're going to see that every single week, and that's evergreen. So you want to look at those three things where I try to spend my time. And to be honest with you, when you put the math on it, I was actually talking to my coaching group about this last week. When you're talking about talking to sellers, it's an incredibly high output, low input task, because let's say 100 conversations, good conversation with a seller equates to a $20,000 assignment fee, $30,000, $50,000 assignment fee. I had a buddy of mine that's got a $300,000 assignment fee last week. When you really look at time and in relation to output, if I'm putting the time in to talk to 100 people, okay, let's say to talk to 100, I have to call whatever it is. I have to call 300, have 100 conversations. So let's say I can make 50 dials a day myself. Okay, so in a week, if I work Monday through Saturday, I can make 300 dials. I can make 300 dials myself. I'm calling 8 hours a day for that week. Say it takes 2 weeks, whatever that is. When you do the math on it, say I'm working an 8 hour day. So I'm working a 48-hour work week, including Saturdays. So 96 hours in those 2 weeks. When you do the math on it, a $50,000 fee, okay, I'm making $520 an hour. Even a $25,000 fee, which is pretty average, is 260. So, is that high leverage on your time? Yes, I'd say making a $500, $250 hour task, $200 an hour task is high leverage on your time. Is messing with data and skip tracing and blah 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 and all the kinds of stuff you can easily delegate? No, that's not worth your time. The next thing I want to talk about, you guys, is delegation's a muscle. So delegation isn't something that um, you just understand naturally. You have to delegate over and over and over again, and you'll start to get a feel for the people that fit, the processes that fit, how you scale someone up, how you onboard someone properly. That's all stuff that comes with reps. Okay, and that's the people that I see that they're most successful with hiring is yeah, that they have a process and a system, and they're strategic with it, but at the same time, um, they're very, very, very dialed in on understanding that it's just a reputation game, right? I've hired a lot of people, guys. And I have a very, very, very core team where I'd stacked very good core team that I'd stack up against anyone's company, from my executive assistant to COO, to operations manager across our companies. But at the end of the day, like, it's a muscle you build. And so the delegation muscle, as you get reps in and you build that, combined with focusing your time on high leverage things, will change your life. And you really want to simplify it, you guys. I can tell you this, like, um, complexity truly kills companies. Okay, simple scales, um, and slow is smooth. Okay, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. What I mean by that, you pick one important thing, you work on just that, you complete it the first time, you complete it right, and then it's done forever. That's smooth, and smooth is fast. You're not constantly having to go back and redo work. That's incredibly important. And if you guys are doing that, you'll see tremendous growth in your business right away. So you guys that are getting up tomorrow and listening to this episode, you don't know what to focus on this week. Focus on stuff that's high leverage, right? Talking to buyers, talking to sellers, um, getting leads in the door, and being dialed in on that side. That's incredibly important for you guys to get to where you want to go. Okay. Second thing I'm going to talk about to get you guys first time. I can't even begin to describe how important it is to dial in on the first thing that I just said there. But the next thing I want you guys to focus on, and really truly understand, is detaching your personal identity from your business. Okay. So many entrepreneurs, and I see it all the time, they make a mistake of, they have a good month, they get 5 deals closed, they're the happiest person on earth. Slow month, they suck, right? They think they suck. They hate themselves. They get imposter syndrome. They get depressed. They start drinking, smoking, whatever. You guys have to understand and truly internalize that you have to separate emotion and your personal life from your company. Okay, your company is its own entity. It functions no matter how you're feeling or what you're doing. You have KPIs set that you're going to hit. You have to separate the two. If you're having a bad day, it should not affect your business. If you're having a good day, it should not affect your business. You have a set of things that have to get done for that business every single day, no matter what's going on in your personal life. Or just like when you have a kid, it doesn't matter, a baby, it doesn't matter when you're sick, happy, sad, whatever, that baby has needs. Your business has needs, no matter how you're feeling, with emotions, or you had a good month, bad month, show up the next day and stop overcomplicating it, you guys. Just stop overcomplicating the business. This business, any business, it's about showing up, doing high leverage activities, and separating emotion from business, and understanding if you give the right inputs every single day, the way the world works, in my opinion, the universe works, in my opinion, good stuff is going to happen. Good stuff is absolutely 1,000% of the time going to happen if you take those two things and you put them into practice, and you put them into practice the right way. So those are the two things I want to hit on today, you guys, in depth to start the week. Again, really diving in on things you can implement right now to improve your productivity, improve your work ethic, and then understanding how to detach your business and make sure you get what needs to be done for your business. That's the only way through. The only way through is getting things that need to be done for your company and yourself and where you want to go. That'll wrap today's episode up, you guys. Again, not real estate specific this week, but something that's been on my mind that I've been, again, it's an iteration of a project I work on with myself every single week, reflecting. And I can't talk about enough how important this stuff is, even more than the real estate stuff. Just understanding focus, understanding how to grow a business, how to hire, how to delegate, all stuff that's invaluable. And I talk about it a lot on the show because it's my thesis on business. So, as always, you guys, share, comment across any platform that you guys listen to this show on. It means the world. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys listen. Truly appreciate it. And until next time, as always, you are only one deal away.